Another great question here. So I sent an email out recently that got a lot of responses, which was awesome. I love to see it. But it was about boundaries and how important it is for leaders to be setting boundaries so they can protect their time, especially when we're working from home. Sometimes we can translate that to I'm always at work, unfortunately. But it's important to have boundaries set so you can have your personal time, have your refresh time, have time set aside for the people and the things that are most important to you. Like, you deserve that. You should have that time and space. The question I got, though, was I'm going to read it here so I get it right. How do you tell everyone transparently about the boundaries without sounding snarky? And this is an important question. I love that this person is thinking through, how is my team going to respond? Because they clearly value their team. They understand there is the need for boundaries, but you also don't want to come across as your own priorities are more important than other people's priorities. And here's something I want to remind every leader that's listening to this podcast. The people on your team understand that you are a person. Like, there is not the expectation that you are constantly on and available to help, right? As leaders, we want to be there for our teams. We want to be able to support them. We want to make sure they feel set up for success. But the reality is in order to be at our best, we need time to disconnect and focus on us. Whether that's spending time with our family, going to movies, reading, exercising, like whatever your thing is that you know, if you do, will allow you to be at your best, is going to enable you to be at the best for your team. So I want to say that because taking time for you is actually not selfish. It's something that you're doing that will allow you to be at the best for your people. But if you're burnt out because you're always on, you're not going to be able to be at your best. You're not going to be at your best in times of crisis, when you're creating change, when you have to have a difficult conversation. You're going to be stressed and tired and exhausted, and nobody's at their best when they are feeling those emotions, unfortunately. So first, just remind yourself before you have these conversations why it's important. It's important because, one, you're important as a person, right? Like, you matter. You're a big deal. But also, it's important because you're a leader and you need to be at your best so you can best serve the people on your team. You can best support the people on your team. And the way to have this conversation without coming across snarky is just being transparent, right? Let the people on your team know, I value you. I want to be there for you. I want to make sure I can be at my best for you. And in order to do that, I want to make sure that it's clear when I'm available and when I'm not available. Do fire drills come up? Absolutely. But when things happen that interrupt that space, the challenge is to make sure you're having the appropriate conversations that reinforce that this space is mine. I need this time, and not that it's okay. If you have a problem, you can call me and I'll take care of it, because that's a slippery slope. And suddenly every problem becomes a fire drill, and people might start seeing that it's actually easier for me to just bring this person a problem because I'll know they'll solve it, instead of me trying to take initiative and be empowered to solve the problem on my own. So kind of getting back to the question, I got into a small tangent there because I wanted to kind of paint the full picture. But getting back to the question of how do I have this conversation, just be transparent, be upfront. I want to be at my best. In order to do that, I need this time set aside. This is time I really value because that's my dinner. That's the time I'm with my kids. So I'm not going to be as available then. But if you need something, these are the times where I'm available. So if you ask me in these times, like, I'll get you a much more prompt response. Just making sure that you're proactive in communicating this, as opposed to something coming up that maybe they could have addressed earlier in the day had they known that you had this time blocked out and set aside. So just being transparent with them, helping them understand the context and why that time's important, but then still encouraging them to bring problems to you, or I'll say that a different way, or reminding them that you are available to support, but giving them some guardrails on what that can look like. So really the answer is, let's just be transparent.
Do